Before we dive into today's emotionally charged tale, it's worth noting over 90% of our viewers watch and engage but haven't yet subscribed. If these raw, human stories speak to your soul, take just a moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That one small gesture helps us bring more unforgettable narratives straight to you. Now, let's begin. The room was thick with an unspoken tension, wrapping itself around me like a second skin, heavy, suffocating, electric. It wasn't just the silence or the luxury of the hotel suite. It was the weight of the moment pressing down on me. My heart beat a relentless rhythm in my ears, each thud a countdown to a decision I had not yet dared to admit to myself. Draped in a sleek black gown that hugged my every contour, I stood motionless, my breath shallow and uneven. Anticipation curled tightly in my belly, a knot of nerves and forbidden excitement. Then came the soft chime of the elevator, the sound that split the silence like a whisper turned scream. The doors parted with elegant ease, and there he was. Adrian Cross, a name that had echoed in my thoughts, slipped into my dreams and carved its presence into the deepest corners of my desire. Seeing him in person, this magnetic force of power and self-assured grace, was like witnessing something too vivid to be real. His aura was undeniable, composed yet wild, confident without a word, consuming without touch. His gaze dark, deliberate, fixed on me with sharp precision. His lips tugged into a smirk, not of arrogance but recognition. "You look stunning," he murmured, his voice low, almost reverent. The sound was like silk brushing over skin, soft but dangerous. I swallowed, but my throat was dry, my tongue heavy. Still, I met his gaze. I couldn't look away. I didn't want to. His presence wrapped around me, claiming me in ways I hadn't expected, but now welcomed with terrifying surrender. He extended his hand, calm and certain, and I offered mine without hesitation. His fingers curled around mine, warm and firm, guiding me past the threshold into a suite that overlooked the glittering city lights below. But I barely registered the view. My focus was on him entirely, obsessively. Elias, his real name, one that echoed in every heartbeat, shrugged off his jacket. The movement was effortless, practiced, revealing the way his black shirt clung to his form-broad chest. Strong arms, a body that promised comfort and danger in equal measure. His scent enveloped me clean, commanding, with an earthy undercurrent that stirred something raw inside me. "I can see it in you," he said, voice silky, as if reading my thoughts. My face flushed. I didn't try to deny it. "I have," I whispered, the words barely audible, trembling in the air between us. His smirk deepened, but it wasn't cruel. It was knowing, intimate. "So you want to understand the feeling, don't you?" I nodded, the breath caught in my lungs. "Speak your truth," he said, his tone soft yet absolute, the kind that allowed no evasion. And so I did. "I want to know what it feels like." His smile faded, replaced by something deeper, an unspoken agreement. Before I could question it, his hands were on me. Not forceful, but sure. His touch rooted me and lit me up all at once. He drew me to him, body to body, presence to presence. Electricity buzzed through every inch of me. When our lips finally met, time fractured. Everything else faded. Each kiss was purposeful, each caress deliberate. He touched me like someone who already knew every secret hiding beneath my skin. In the hours that followed, reality blurred. We existed in whispers, in stolen breath, in the silent language of touch. Elias moved with a conviction I had never known, a focused, passionate intensity that responded to my every shiver, every involuntary gasp. He didn't guess. He knew. He unraveled me, and when it was over, when I lay next to him, my skin glowing with aftershocks of sensation, my chest rising and falling in uneven patterns, I could only stare at the ceiling. I had never felt like this before. Never. There was no regret in that moment, only the overwhelming realization that something inside me had shifted. As dawn neared and silence reclaimed the room, guilt crept in like fog through a cracked door slow, persistent, unwelcome. I loved my husband, Mark. I truly did. But what I had just experienced wasn't love. It was something else. It was aliveness. It was truth. A buried, burning truth I could no longer ignore. Elias lay beside me, eyes closed, an easy smile gracing his lips. "You're incredible," he said quietly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. I forced a faint smile. His words should have made me glow. Instead, they clanged like warning bells, echoing the magnitude of the line I had crossed. The taxi ride home was a quiet, surreal journey. I stared at my reflection in the window, trying to locate the woman I was before the night began. She was gone. In her place stood someone new, haunted, awakened, and changed forever. Mark greeted me at the door, arranging candles at the dinner table. He looked up and smiled. "You're back," he said, stepping in to kiss me. I let him. His kiss was familiar, safe, gentle, but I no longer felt like the woman that kiss once belonged to. "How was your evening?" he asked, eyeing me with subtle curiosity. "You seem different." I froze. "It was smooth," I replied, steadying my tone. "Everything went as planned." He laughed lightly. "You look lighter, happier even." If only he knew. Days passed. Our life resumed its rhythm: coffee in the mornings, goodbye kisses, shared meals. But internally, I was fracturing. Each time Mark touched me, I had to summon a memory, a feeling, something to react with. I pretended. I smiled. I played my part. But the truth, my body remembered something else. Someone else. With Elias. I hadn't needed to act. I had only needed to feel. That knowledge became a silent ache. A ghost between us. The guilt didn't vanish. It became a shadow, always nearby. I told myself it was a one-time mistake. A dream brought to life, now sealed away. I still loved Mark, didn't I? In my own way, yes. That desire and love are not the same. I had learned that now. The real struggle wasn't remorse. It was temptation. The desire to call Elias, just once. To see if he remembered. If it meant something to him, too. But I never did. This secret, this truth would be buried with me. Unspoken. Undiscovered. Weeks passed. I smiled more. I tried to forget. I failed, and yet, somehow, life went on. I embodied the devoted, wife-ed woman who possessed all she could ever desire for a fleeting moment. I found myself nearly compensating. The deception grew increasingly difficult to uphold. Unbidden, the memory surfaced during the most unforeseen instances. Mark would envelop me in his embrace, at night drawing me near, and my thoughts drifted to the stark contrast of Elias. Toucho, he possessed me. How he understood me in ways my husband never could. I endeavored to cast it as a dato. Concentrate on the life I had crafted alongside Mark. Was gentle, affectionate, and he cherished me. Deep plight, love and desire were not synonymous. On evening, we found ourselves at a dinner party, hosted by a friend gathered around. A table illuminated by the gentle flicker of candlelight. Mark sat next to me, his hand gently placed on my thigh, an effortless gesture of intimacy. I smiled, participating in the dialogue. My thoughts drifted elsewhere. Suddenly, a gentle vibration stirred in my lap, emanating from my phonia note. As my eyes fell upon the Narmia, chill gripped my heart, halting it in its tracks. Elias, I Find myself pondering whether that night still lingers in your thoughts, my breath hitched in my throat, me fingers quiveradas. I secured the screen and tucked my phone away in my purse, me heart raced with fervors. He aware of the impact his actions had on my deed. He comprehend the precariousness of my situation, how near I was to falling apart, warmth of his breath lingered on my skin, accompanied by the heavy presence of his hands. The spectre of him lingered in my mind, softly murmuring its existence ceased. My fervent attempts to drown it out, I made my way from the table, murmuring a vague excuse about seeking fresh air, and stepped out onto the balcony of the restaurant. The urban glow unfolded ahead, a shimmering expanse of temptations, yet nothing could pull my attention away from him. I ought to have refrained from responding. I ought to have removed the message, obliterating every trace of him, yet my fingers acted of their own accord. Myself, this is not the moment for such distractions. Elias months later, his response arrived. Elias, that does not suffice as a response. With my eyes shut, I let out a slow breath. Indeed it was not myself, it was a single night. The end has come. A new message arrived with remarkable speed. Elias, interesting, considering how deeply moved you were that night. A tremor coursed through my being, me body turning against me while my mind shouted in protest. Health was playing with my limits, testing the boundaries to discover just how far I could bend before breaking. This was beyond my capabilities. I tucked my phone away into my purse and made my way back to my seat, mustering a smile as I grasped my wine glass. Mark glanced my way, his gaze tender and filled with affection. Is everything all right? I inclined my head in agreement. Certainly. Yet within I was disintegrating. I persevered for as long as I was able. I turned a blind eye to the messages, resting the late night allure to unlock my phone and reply it. Opposing Elias seemed akin to attempting to stem the relentless surge of the ocean. It was on a particular afternoon that I first laid eyes on Hymas. I stepped out of the cave, coffee cradled in my handy, suddenly found myself rooted to the spot in the opposite side of the street. Casually propped against a polished black car stood Elias. Observed me intently, clad in a tailored dark coat. His aura was as captivating as I. Ricaledi remained still, silent, merely standing there, anticipating a quiet test of resolve. I might have turned my back, feigned ignorance to his presence, and returned to the meticulously crafted existence I had built, yet I refrained. Me feet propelled me forward before I could rein them in, arrowing the space that separated. US, what on earth brings you here? I whispered, my tone, dark and cutting. His smirk was maddening. It's a pleasure to see you as well. Claraith, sound of my name escaping his lips, stirred emotions within me that I was reluctant to confront. You're insane, I muttered, casting a furtive glance to ensure no one was observing. Your sudden appearance is quite unexpected. What's stopping us? He inclined his head. I long to see you. I despised the way my heart fluttered at those words. Elias, this was meant to be. A singular occurrence moved nearer, his voice lowering to that perilous personal timbre that had shattered me in the past. So what keeps you here, engaging with me rather than simply turning away? I found myself without a response, for the reality was I had no desire to turn my back and leave his hand, extended fingertips grazing my wrist, delicate, ephemerally yet potent enough to send a shiver coursing through. May drew in a sharp breath. Come meet me, he urged. This is not a request, it is a command. I shook my head in disbelief. I am unable to do that. Indeed, you have the ability to do so. Leaned in, his lips hovering tantalizingly near my ear. Indeed, you shall. His words etched themselves into my skin. His words left a lasting impression, echoing long after he walked away. I pivoted and strode away, me hands balled into tight fists. I found myself yearning for greater strength. I needed to summon greater strength. Yet that evening, as I lay next to Mark, me body was uneasy and my mind ensnared in memories from which I could not break free. I realized I had already succumbed to the depths of confusion. It was inevitable that I would stumble once more. There was a magnetism to Elias that lingered even when he was gone. Despite my efforts to push him away, he remained ever present, observant, gentising. Yet I found myself unable to continue existing in this manner. An evening, as I found myself seated across from market dinner, it dawned on me that my decision had already been made. Recounted his day, a smile gracing his lips as it always did, blissfully oblivious to the tempest swirling within me. Adored him, yet I had betrayed Hymond. There was no way to reverse it. Night I found myself before the mirror gazing into my own reflection, seeking the woman I once was. She had vanished. With my heart racing, I reached for my phone and began to type a message myself no longer can. I endure this, please refrain from reaching out to me in the future for just a fleeting moment. I paused before pressing send. Moments later the response arrived. Elias, do you truly believe that? I let out a sharp breath, compelling myself to take the action I should have embraced from the very beginning. I severed all communication by blocking his number with a deliberate motion. I powered down my phone, slipped into bed next to my husband, and enveloped him in my embrace. Thought calling to him might erase the echoes of what had come before. It was impossible. Yet the moment had arrived to seize the flight. There are certain secrets I shall carry with me to my grave. We reach the end of Claret's tale, a narrative woven with threads of temptation, betrayal, and an irrevocable choice. What are your thoughts on this? Ought she to have remained steadfast to Mark from the very beginning? Do you think her bond with Elias justified the gamble? Was it the right choice to block him? Do you believe she might succumb to temptation once more? I would love to hear your reflections in the comment section. I would be eager to hear your perspective on this narrative. If you found pleasure in it, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for additional insights.